And how digital scheduling made wall calendars decorative only. Picture this. It's January 1995 and you're standing in the office supply section of your local store. Towering displays showcase hundreds of different wall calendars. Scenic landscapes, cute kittens, motivational quotes, sports teams, classic cars. The variety seems endless. Sales associates are busy restocking because these aren't just decorative items, they're essential business tools. Every office cubicle has one, every kitchen wall displays one, and every briefcase contains a compact version. The global calendar industry is worth over $2 billion annually, with companies like Brownline, Daytimer, and At a Glance dominating a market that has remained virtually unchanged since the 1800s. These paper squares and rectangles aren't just showing dates. They're the command centers of human organization, the silent coordinators of our professional and personal lives. But within 15 years, this entire industry would be reduced to nothing more than decorative wall art, victims of a digital revolution they never saw coming. The paper calendar industry in 1990 was a well-oiled machine that had perfected its craft over more than a century. Daytimer, founded in 1947, had grown into a $100 million company by selling leather-bound planning systems to executives and professionals. At a Glance, established in 1929, dominated the wall calendar market with their distinctive red numbers and clean layouts. Franklin Covey built an empire around their planning methodology, selling not just calendars, but entire organizational philosophies. The industry operated on predictable seasonal cycles, back-to-school rushes in August, corporate bulk orders in October for the following year, and Christmas gift purchases in December. Retail partnerships were rock solid, with dedicated calendar sections in every bookstore, office supply chain, and department store. Manufacturing was streamlined and profitable, with most calendars produced overseas and imported at costs under 50 cents per unit, then sold for $5 to $20. The math was beautiful. High margins, recurring annual purchases, and a customer base that showed remarkable loyalty to specific brands and formats. What made paper calendars so dominant wasn't just tradition. It was their perfectly tailored functionality for pre-digital life. A wall calendar provided instant visual access to an entire month, allowing families and office workers to spot scheduling conflicts, plan ahead, and coordinate activities at a glance. The physical act of writing appointments created a mental reinforcement that digital advocates would later struggle to replicate. Desk calendars offered portability and privacy, fitting perfectly into the briefcase-carrying, meeting-heavy culture of corporate America. Specialized formats served niche markets beautifully. Teachers loved academic year calendars that started in September. Shift workers relied on calendars with large daily squares for complex scheduling, and families gravitated toward kitchen calendars with multiple columns for different family members. The tactile experience mattered too. The satisfaction of flipping a page to start a new month, the ability to quickly flip back and forth between months without loading screens, and the simple pleasure of using your favorite pen to mark important dates created emotional connections that seemed unbreakable. But while calendar companies were focused on improving paper quality and expanding theme varieties, a quiet revolution was beginning in the technology sector. In 1992, IBM introduced the ThinkPad, which included basic calendar software. Most users ignored it. Apple's Newton MessagePad in 1993 featured digital scheduling capabilities, but the device flopped spectacularly. Palm computing changed the game in 1996 with the Palm Pilot, a pocket-sized device that could store contacts, notes, and yes, calendars. Suddenly, busy professionals could carry their entire scheduling system in their shirt pocket. The Palm Pilot sold over 1 million units in its first 2 years, and early adopters began experiencing something the paper calendar industry hadn't anticipated: the convenience of truly portable, searchable scheduling. Microsoft Outlook, launched in 1997, brought digital calendaring to desktop computers, allowing users to schedule meetings, set reminders, and coordinate with colleagues electronically. These early digital tools weren't replacing paper calendars entirely, but they were creating a new category of power users who were beginning to question why they needed both systems. The tipping point arrived in the early 2000s with three converging technological advances that paper calendar manufacturers completely underestimated. First, internet connectivity became standard in offices and homes, enabling calendar synchronization between devices. Second, email integration allowed digital calendars to automatically create appointments from meeting requests and send invitations to multiple participants. Third, mobile devices like BlackBerry phones and early smartphones made digital schedules truly portable. By 2002, a BlackBerry user could schedule a meeting on their computer, have it automatically appear on their phone, send invitations to attendees, receive confirmations, and get reminded 5 minutes before the appointment, all without touching a piece of paper. Meanwhile, paper calendar users were still manually writing appointments in multiple locations, hoping they remembered to transfer information between their desk calendar and wall calendar, and relying entirely on their own memory for reminders. The death blow came disguised as innovation that seemed almost too good to be true. Google Calendar, launched in 2006, offered unlimited storage, real-time synchronization across unlimited devices, automatic backups, and integration with email, all completely free. Microsoft followed with their own cloud-based solutions. Apple introduced iCal that seamlessly synced between their computers and the revolutionary iPhone, launched in 2007. Suddenly, digital calendars weren't just matching paper calendar functionality, they were obliterating it with features that seemed like magic to longtime paper users. You could set multiple reminders for a single event, schedule recurring appointments that would automatically populate for months or years, invite attendees who could accept or decline digitally, attach documents to appointments, and access your complete schedule from any internet-connected device anywhere in the world. Color coding allowed for sophisticated categorization that made paper calendars look primitive. Search functionality meant you could find that doctor's appointment from 6 months ago in seconds, rather than flipping through pages. As digital adoption accelerated, the paper calendar industry found itself trapped in a nightmare scenario they had never prepared for. Sales began declining in 2003, slowly at first, then precipitously. Daytimers saw their revenue drop from over $100 million annually to less than $20 million by 2010. At a Glance survived by pivoting heavily toward decorative wall calendars, essentially admitting that their core organizational product was obsolete. Franklin Covey abandoned paper calendar manufacturing entirely, focusing on corporate training and digital productivity tools. Smaller companies simply vanished. Retail partnerships crumbled as stores reduced calendar sections from entire walls to single shelving units, then to seasonal displays that appeared only in December. The used calendar market collapsed to zero. Who wants last year's calendar when digital versions update automatically? Manufacturing facilities in Asia that had produced calendars for decades were forced to convert to producing other paper products or close entirely. The industry's predictable annual sales cycle, once their greatest strength, became a liability as customers who went digital 1 year simply never returned. What made this industry collapse particularly brutal was how quickly consumer behavior shifted once the tipping point was reached. Unlike other gradual technology transitions, digital calendar adoption followed an exponential curve. A 2008 survey by the American Business Association found that 73% of office workers still used paper calendars as their primary scheduling tool. Just 2 years later, that number had dropped to 31%. By 2012, it was below 10%. Smartphones accelerated this transition beyond anything the industry could have imagined. The iPhone and Android devices made digital calendars not just convenient, but omnipresent. Your schedule was now in your pocket, always up to date, always accessible, and always backed up. Paper calendar manufacturers watched helplessly as their customer base didn't just shrink, it actively advocated against their product. Digital converts became evangelists, demonstrating to friends and colleagues how much easier scheduling had become, how they never forgot appointments anymore, how they could coordinate complex family schedules effortlessly. The few survivors of the calendar apocalypse tell a story of an industry that confused product loyalty with functional necessity. Companies had spent decades perfecting printing techniques, expanding artistic themes and optimizing retail relationships, but they never questioned whether the fundamental concept of paper-based scheduling would remain relevant. When digital alternatives appeared, calendar manufacturers dismissed them as gadgets for tech enthusiasts, then as supplements to their core products, and finally, as serious competitors only when it was far too late to mount any meaningful response. Some attempted digital transitions, but they lacked the software expertise to compete with technology giants, offering superior products for free. Others doubled down on paper, emphasizing the aesthetic and tactile benefits of traditional calendars, only to discover that functionality trumped sentimentality for the vast majority of users. Today, the paper calendar industry exists as a shadow of its former self, relegated almost entirely to decorative and gift markets. Walk into any office supply store, and you'll find a small selection of wall calendars featuring puppies, landscapes, and inspirational quotes. Items purchased more for their pictures than their organizational capabilities. The global market that once exceeded $2 billion annually now generates less than $200 million, representing a 90% collapse in just 15 years. Meanwhile, digital calendar applications are used by over 3 billion people worldwide, integrated into every smartphone, computer, and smart device. The irony is perfect. The very permanence that made paper calendars reliable made them inflexible, while the ephemeral nature of digital calendars made them infinitely adaptable. An entire industry learned too late that in the information age, the ability to sync, search, and notify isn't just convenient, it's essential. The wall calendar industry didn't just lose to better technology. They lost to the fundamental human desire to never miss another important moment again.